All right, so let's talk about the ECL training updates that's been going on. It's, 2020, and we've been going through some interesting times. Quick poll question, more of a survey question. How far have you gone through the online or classroom-based HPCC systems or ECL lessons? So I'd like to know just how far some of you have gone through it. Those of you who are out there on the Tech Talk, let's get a quick survey on that. And as of 2020, this is our current course catalog of online lessons. Our core classes, as you can see, we have the Introduction to ECL, we have the Advanced ECL classes, and Roxy ECL classes, all in Part 1 and Part 2. Those are available online and also remotely and through classroom training, of course. We also have online only the SALT training, which we have an Introduction to SALT and Advanced SALT, and then we have some other lessons, Applied ECL, an HPCC for managers, and an HPCC Systems Administration class. Those are all available online, and I did a quick totaling of everything that we've put together. We've got 161 lessons in total, and counting every day. That's primarily why I'm here today, was to talk about some of the new lessons that I've introduced over the past couple of weeks. As you know, we've all been staying at home and social distancing, working from home. So I've had a great opportunity to go back to our catalog and add things that I've always wanted to add. And the first lesson that I've added to our catalog is in the Introduction ECL Part 2 class. And you can see in the upper right-hand corner of this slide, it's actually called Exercise 6B. It's Data Patterns and Visualization. So I put this right after our data evaluation reports and right before we talk about transforms and projects, because data patterns and visualization are ways of further analyzing your data. Of course, one is more of a robust way of digging into every field and record data patterns, and visualization, of course, is a visual view. Sometimes you can get insights by looking at a chart much quicker than looking at a list of records and fields. So as of version 7, we introduced data patterns and visualization to HPCC and ECL. Data patterns has a bundle for data patterns. It also has a standard function library now that's built in for data patterns, and also the ECL Watch can be used for data patterns. So I go through all three aspects of accessing data patterns for whatever data set that you wish to analyze. And the second half of this lesson talks about visualization. We talk about installing the Visualizer bundle and then working through all of the, well, they have test ECL that you can look at the charts at a glance, and then with very intuitive documentation, you can actually apply whatever graph you want to whatever data you want. And I talk about visualization. I think the most important thing in visualization in my book is preparing the data. So I spent a lot of time talking about preparing the data, because if you visualize too much data, the chart becomes unreadable. Too little, it's very sparse and not very helpful to you. So there's a balance there. And I like to use things like crosstab reports with my data sets to summarize and aggregate the information that I want to visualize. And I've had some very rewarding results. We've got some cool lab exercises for both data patterns and visualization in this new lesson. And now, drum roll, please. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and again, pulling myself out of the classroom and into more of a stay-at-home developing. So I've had a chance now to actually dig in and start to develop lessons for machine learning. And right now, I have, because I wanted to get them out quickly to you, I've added them to the Advanced ECL Part 2 class. So we have an Introduction to Machine Learning. This is our first lesson. It talks about the terminology, supervised, unsupervised, and deep learning. also dependent, independent variables, regression and classification, quantitative and qualitative. So this first lesson is just more of an introduction to the terminology. If you've never used machine learning, just before we dive into the machine learning bundles, just to get a ground zero of a basic understanding of the terms and what we're going to be doing in machine learning. The next lesson I've added to the Advanced ECL Part 2 is the Learning Trees tutorial. And at this point, I want to give a shout out to Roger Dev, Louis Zhu, Dan Camper. These are some really smart developers who have put together these machine learning bundles that are available, and also associated blogs that have tutorials bundled with tutorials that are side saddled with the bundles. And as I was going through these blogs, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to take these and let's apply some real data to this. Let's have some fun with these tutorials. Let's actually put them into lab exercises to give you a chance to actually work and practice and use these bundles. So the first one I like to call the low-hanging fruit, because this one is pretty easy to use, and it's very powerful, it's flexible, and it's good for a lot of different data sets, is the Learning Trees tutorial. And we talk about just the fundamentals of all of the ML models that we use in our ECL bundles, which is preparing the data first, converting the data into the numeric field format that the ML bundles desire. Then we look at training the models, and then running predictions on those models, and then assessing the models. So we talk about that with the Learning Trees tutorial. I've decided to take the data from the Advanced ECL Part 2 class, which was our, well, we had a people, property, tax, data, and vehicle. Those of you that went through the Advanced ECL class know what I'm talking about. And I decided to pull out the property training data and actually use that for machine learning. And I got some very rewarding results. So have some fun with this. This is our Learning Trees tutorial, another new lesson that I've introduced. Also, another new lesson that's out there and ready to go is the Myriad interface. So essentially, the Myriad interface is an interface that's used among all bundles to give you consistency and the ability then to divide jobs so a single model can work on different sets of data sets, if you will. So for example, in this Myriad interface lesson, I am taking our property price predictor that we did in the Learning Trees tutorial, and then I broke it down by states. Let's look at properties for California, properties for New York, properties for Florida, and see how accurate all three of those as we zero in on each particular state. And there's more to come. So I am just in the, I'm just about finished with our latest lesson, the GNN Generalized Neural Networks tutorial. It became so large that I actually divided that into two lessons. I have another lesson called Introduction to Neural Networks, where we expand on machine learning and talk about some of the terminology used with, specifically with neural networks. And then in the next lesson, I apply the new GNN bundle and working with an image database and applying the GNN tutorial to the image database and the results that we get from that. Down the road, I have plans to have a lesson on our DB scan bundle, our k-means bundle, PB blast, and of course, my favorite lesson is we are always open to your suggestions. So if you have something that you want to learn that's maybe not even machine learning, something that you do in ECL, if you're a developer right now in the trenches working on projects, and there's something that you do that you say, well, I went through training, I wish we would have covered that. That's what I love to hear about. I love to hear about what topics maybe that we haven't covered in training, and what would be good maybe as a lesson to present and share with other colleagues of yours. So if you have suggestions for other lessons, please let me know. Okay, and so to wrap this up, of course, all of you know that we have had classroom training in particularly in Boca and in Alpharetta. We've had online lessons, remote. Well, we have online, we have on-site lessons that I haven't even included on the slide. On-site lessons, like I finished some training in Raleigh last year, and we've gone all over the world with our classes. Richard Taylor and Hugo down in Brazil have just completed some classes the earlier part of this year. So something with what we've been going on, we're going to resurrect remote training. This is something that we've kind of put on the shelf because we thought the classroom training and the online lessons were sufficient, but remote training is kind of the second tier level. Of course, in classroom training, it's always great to have the instructor right there. The interactivity with student and teacher, the questions, and that can be shared with everybody else. It's always the best scenario for training. But because we're right now unable to do that, remote training becomes our second and our best option. So coming up in May, we have some introduction to ECL classes, and we also have some advanced ECL classes that were scheduled for Alpharetta, but we are moving them to Microsoft Teams and doing remote training. So please, if you have someone on your team or if you yourself want to refresh yourself with some lessons, please sign up for those lessons on our Eventbrite. There's links on our HPCC page that go right to those classes, and we will be holding remote sessions for those May classes. Now, we also have classes scheduled in August, and those are still open-ended right now. We don't know where we're going to be in August, so we are also prepared to originally scheduling those for the classroom, but if we have to, we'll also do those remotely. And of course, if for some reason the remote training doesn't suit you, you can always hit our online lessons, the many of 161 lessons that I introduced to you at the start of these slides. So those are always available 24/7, 365 days a year. And please, there is a forum that's on our HPCC website called Classroom, where you can post questions there that we monitor every day. You can also email me personally, or Richard Taylor, or Hugo Watanuki. Any of us as instructors will always be there to help you if you have any questions on ECL or any of our lessons. And so our last poll question, what type of ECL training would you prefer to attend in the near future? What interests you? Would you like to go to classroom training, remote training, online lessons? Just a general poll again on the type of training that you prefer. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. And Jessica, let's see. We'll check out the questions from the audience, I guess. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, and just really quick, there's one area where your lessons are that we didn't get to mention. If you go to the community section in Tech Talks, so on the website, Community Tech Talks, you'll see a wiki of all the topics. And Bob and Richard and Hugo also have done all sorts of training topics. So you can also go back and visit little short videos. If there's something specific you're looking for, you can get a link to those on the website, or just go out to our YouTube channel since we've got them all there. So little short, quick training videos too.
Okay. So how about that first question?
All right, thank you, Bob. All right, so the first, I appreciate you got me on your mind there, thank you. So the question was, how far have you gone through the online classroom based on the HPCC systems ECL lessons? 66% have done the introduction to ECL. 11% have done the advanced ECL, and 22% have done all of them. So that's actually pretty good. So,
that is pretty good.
Right. No one's taken advanced, at least of the responders, have taken the Roxy ECL. So hopefully people will have a little bit of time to fit that in. But
I do want to talk about that.
None of the above.
I think
Go ahead, Bob.
I do want to talk about that because everyone has a misunderstanding of our Roxy ECL. Remember now, just because it's called Roxy ECL doesn't mean that you have to be a Roxy developer or be working on Roxy projects. It's good to know the full circle of life with an ECL data set, starting from spraying to ETL to building indexes and data delivery. And all the part of Roxy ECL, even though it's designed to talk about how we deliver our queries to Roxy, all of the development work is done on Thor. And there's a lot of skills in the Roxy ECL class that enhance your arsenal of knowledge for ECL, things like interfaces and working with some aspects of full-keyed and half-keyed joins and so on. So there's a lot of stuff in those Roxy ECL classes that might interest you. So just consider signing up for that. And the Advanced ECL as well. The Advanced ECL Part 1 is more of, we work with relational data sets. Some of you think, well, I'll never need to work with a relational data set because everything is normalized. But then again, the Advanced Part 2 class is kind of a cafeteria style of topics that you may or may not encounter down the road. Things like machine learning. That's brand new in the Advanced ECL Part 2. And then we have the NLP stuff and parsing, and then we have super files, and then XML and working with XML and JSON files. So, all right, thank you, Jessica. Let me get a question here. Or I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking over. You go ahead, Jessica. I'm sorry.
No. Bob, you're a pro at this. Go ahead.
Well, the first question I see on the from the audience: are there any plans for a classroom machine learning session? And the answer to that is yes. Our next Advanced ECL Part 2 class will have a lesson on machine learning. We've got that already incorporated in. And then I think as it goes by, we might even consider doing maybe a 1 or 2 day class on machine learning as we have more of the bundles under our belt, and we'll talk about maybe using different bundles in class. So look for that down the road in 2020. All right, another question here. Where are the 160 plus online classes located at? That's an excellent question. You can go to learn.lexisnexis.com. I'll say that one more time. learn.lexisnexis.com. As you go in there, if you have an account, you can log in. If you don't have an account, it's very easy to create one. And after you create an account, you, in the search window at the top of the web page, you search for HPCC, and all of those lessons are then displayed on the main course page. And you'll start with the introduction classes are free. HPCC for managers is free. There's a lot of classes that you take. You do not need any promo codes. If you then finish your introduction classes and you want to go to the advanced classes and to Roxy ECL, just contact any one of us and we'll send you a PDF with all of the proper promo codes. We have a special, I think, Jessica, like we have that Learn 2020 initiative as yes, we are all, yes, as we are all social distancing right now and working from home. We're making all of our lessons available for free to anyone who wants to learn them. So that's a good thing. And let's see, maybe one more question here. When are the next classes after May 2020? We have, again, classes scheduled in August. And remember, those of you that are listening from Boca, if you have a need for classes also, and as we get back to normal eventually, remember, we've done Boca classes last year. I think I had 2 or 3 class sessions there in the 777 building. So if any of your team or colleagues want to have any of the courses that we have available in our catalog, please contact me, and we'll arrange to, we'll hold the class on site. So we'll actually do that, and very happy to do that too. So that's about all I have then. Jessica, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks everybody for listening, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll all be together soon.
you know what, Bob, it looks like there is one question that just snuck in there that I think maybe you could answer. For those interested in taking the remote classes, what would be the minimal personal infrastructure, laptop, headset, et cetera? What do you recommend that people have?
Okay. Essentially, if you can get on Microsoft Teams, then that's all we need, because that's the plan. You know, of course, a good speaker to hear the audio, and that's really all you need. I think just if you're on Microsoft Teams and you have a good internet connection. As far as the cluster is concerned, well, if you're logged into the LexisNexis domain, we have a couple of training clusters that you can take advantage of. If you're outside of the LexisNexis domain, we have either the HPCC VM that you can install on your laptop or desktop, or we have the Play cluster that's out there that's available 24/7, 365. So you can access that cluster, and I'll have the training data uploaded to that Play cluster so that you can perform the lab exercises and run your lab exercises from that cluster that's ready to go. So that's really all you need for the remote classes, just your laptop, an internet connection, a speaker, and off you go.